Hello everyone, my name is Dan Gregg and I'll be reading out of the Good News of Messiah. Really close up here so you can see my lips move and hear the pronunciations as best as I could manage. And we got the camera going here, and this time I think I got the microphone on and off the table so we won't hear the echo that we heard at the beginning of the last video. And the Good News of Messiah is available on my website, and it's also available on Amazon and other places. Okay, we'll begin again here. I'll have to splice that together. Okay, so as I was saying, from the Good News of Messiah, which is available on online booksellers, The Good News of Messiah by Dan Gregg, and this is a translation of the New Testament, or as I will say, the New Made Covenant, or the Covenant of Old, New Made. All right, Matthew chapter 2. Matthew chapter 2. Okay. And when Yeshua was born in Bethlehem of Yehudah, in the days of Herod the king, behold, Magi from the east came alongside to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who has been born King of the Yehudim? Because we have seen his star in the rising, and we have come to worship him. And when Herod the king heard this, he was shaken up, and all Jerusalem with him. And having gathered together all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he was inquiring before them where the Anointed One is born. And they said to him, In Bethlehem of Yehudah, because thus it has been getting written through the prophet, And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Yehudah, are by no means least among the rulers of Yehudah, because out of you will go forth a ruler, will shepherd my people Yisrael. Then Herod, as he secretly called the Magi, ascertained before them the time the star manifested itself. And as he sent them to Bethlehem, he said, Having gone yourselves, search carefully for the child, and when you may find him, report back to me, so that even I, having come, may worship him. And having heard the king, they went themselves, and behold, the star, which they did see in the branch, was going before them, till having arrived, it was stationed above where the child was. And when they saw the star, they themselves rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And as they came into the house, they saw the child with Miriam, his mother. And when they fell down, they worshipped him. And they opened their treasures and carried to him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And when they were divinely instructed in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country through another way. Yet also, as they departed, behold, the messenger of Yahweh is showing himself to Joseph in a dream, saying, Having risen up, take the child and his mother, and be fleeing to Mitzrayim, and be remaining there until I have told you, because Herod is going to seek the child that he may destroy him. And having raised himself up, he took the child and his mother by night and departed for Mitzrayim. And he was remaining there past the death of Herod, so that what was spoken by him to the prophet would be fulfilled, saying, Out of Mitzrayim I called my son. Alright, I'm going to get some water here, so you can just pause for a minute. There's my nice big Washington Island cup. Alrighty. I wear these magnifier glasses. I got dozens of pair around the house. Okay. So the last sentence we read here was, sure everything's right here. Oh yes, we're going to have an echo if we don't put that on. Let's get that microphone on there. Okay. Alright, the last verse we read was chapter 2, verse 15 from Matthew, the Good News of Messiah. And he was remaining there past the death of Herod, so that what was spoken by Yahweh to the prophet would be fulfilled, saying, Out of Mitzrayim I called my son. And then when Herod saw that he was outwitted by the Magi, he was intensely enraged, and having sent his men, he killed all the boys who were in Bethlehem, and all its surroundings, who were in the second year and under, according to the time which he ascertained before the Magi. Then was filled up what was spoken through Yirmiyahu the prophet, saying, A voice was listened to in Ramah, weeping in great mourning, Rachel weeping over her children, and she was desiring not to be comforted, because they are not. Yet also Herod having died, behold, the messenger of Yahweh shows himself in a dream to Yosef in Mitzrayim, saying, Having risen up, take the child and his mother, and be going into the land of Yisrael, because those seeking the child's soul have been dying. And having arisen, he took the child and his mother, and came into the land of Yisrael. Yet when he heard that Archelaus reigns over Yehuda, in the place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. Yet also, having been divinely instructed in a dream, he departed for the regions of Galilee, and having come there, he dwelt in a city, being called Netzaret, so that it should be fulfilled what was spoken through the prophets. He will be called a Netzari. So that's Matthew chapter 2 from the Good News of Messiah. And now I will read the footnotes here and maybe throw in a few extra comments. Okay. Our first footnote is on Matthew 2:2. Mattatyahu, verse 2, chapter 2. Where is he who has been born king of the Yehudim? Because we have seen his star in the rising, and we have come to worship him. So the footnote is on in the rising, footnote omega. Also, in the branch. So we could also read this, because we have seen his star in the branch. And why is this? Okay, the Magim, or Magim, more properly, because G is not J, it's G. The Magim meant a helical rising of Jupiter. They observed this twice. The second time was September 1, 2 BC in Virgo, and this was the date of Messiah's birth. The word used here is Anatole. Okay, so the word used here in the rising or in the branch is Anatole, which is used by Zechariah in the LXX, that means the Septuagint, to mean the branch. Okay, so the word means a riser. Okay, literally means a riser. So think of a branch shooting up, sprouting up out of the ground, rising. Okay, shooting a shaft up. So that's how it's connected to the meaning of the word Anatole, which means rising or riser, in the rising. So the word can mean both a branch and a rising. Okay, so that's how we get the connection between the star and the branch. Okay, Zechariah, okay, so he means to use the word, I mean, a riser and a rising. A branch, shoot, or twig is a riser from the earth. Okay, and there's a cross-reference here. See chapter 2, verse 9, and we'll read that, cross-reference. And having heard the king, they went themselves, and behold, the star which they did see in the branch was going before them, till having arrived, it was stationed above where the child was. So in this case, I have translated Anatole as branch. So I've alternated the translation of the word in the text. Okay. Our next note here is Micah 5:2, and that's on verse 6. So that's referring to the quotation you hear. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Yehudah, are by no means least among the leaders of Yehudah, because out of you will go forth a ruler who will shepherd my people Yisrael. So in the footnote, I have it in the Hebrew here. Ve'ata Bethlehem Ephratah Zair Lo Hayot Ba'elafei Yehudah Mimecha Li Yetze Lechiot Moshel B'Yisrael Umotza Otayo Mikedem Miyamei Olam. Okay, so that's note B on verse 6. So that's Micah 5:4. And also we have a little snippet from 1 Chronicles 11:12. Ve'amad ve'ra'ah ba'oz Yahweh. And he will stand up and he will shepherd in the strength of Yahweh. Okay, so and you can also see 2 Samuel 5:2. So when quotations are being given, it's typical not to give an exact quotation, but to give the sense of the text. And also it's typical to use more than one text or amalgamate them. This was acceptable in that day because people memorized little bits of scripture and the sense, okay. But we do have the written exact form, which I read to you in the Hebrew here. All right, verse 7, kasi, Greek letter kasi, has a footnote. Then Herod, as he secretly called the Magi, ascertained before them the time the star manifested himself. So the first time the star appeared was August 1st, 3 BC, in Leo. It had been a year and 5 months from that time to the time of Herod's inquiry. So that's 17 months. Okay, almost 18 months. All right, chapter 2, verse 9, fee. All right, I read you verse 9 again already, but I'll read it again. And having heard the king, they went themselves. And behold, the star which they did see in the branch was going before them, till having arrived, it was stationed up above where the child was. Okay, the star which was Jupiter. Okay, so that in Hebrew, this is not in the notes, but in Hebrew, Jupiter is called Sedek. Okay, that's the Hebrew name for Jupiter. And Sedek means just or righteous one. I suppose righteous would be Sadiq, but Sedek means righteous. All right, so the note says the star, which was Jupiter, stopped. It reached a relative stationary point among the stars. It stood over Bethlehem from the vantage point of Jerusalem. The date this happened was December 27 to 28, 2 BC. The Magim searched for the child on the 28th. They presented their gifts in the Hebrew calendar, or the biblical calendar, on 11/1. Okay, that's the first day of the 11th month. Okay, and that was on December 29, which was the new moon day for Shavat. Shavat, the name of the 11th month. Okay. Verse 2, chapter 2, verse 11, Pi. Okay, Paidon. Okay, so that says, and as they came into the house, they saw the child with Miriam, his mother. On page 67 of his book, The Star That Astonished the World, 1998, Ernest Martin adopts Adam Rutherford's argument from page 433 of Bible Chronology, 1957, to claim that Paidon means a toddler versus Brephos, which means infant. He does this to put Messiah's birth back earlier from the December 2 BC date of the Magim's visit by more than a year to September 11, 3 BC, since Messiah is called Paidon in this passage. But the claim that Paidon or Paidion means toddler and not just a child is proved false when the very same word is used to describe Yochanan the Immerser when he was circumcised, only 8 days old, in Luke 1:59 and 66 and 76. That's Luke chapter 1, verses 59, 66, and 76. Even more astonishing is the occurrence in Luke 2:17 and 2:27 in reference to Messiah himself, right after Miriam's days of purification from childbirth. The word Paidion plainly means child in all of these cases, and most certainly not toddler. The very simplest word study and checking of its other uses is sufficient to expose this error. Unlike Martin, this present author, which is yours truly, spends a lot of time and research examining the arguments he comes up with to see if they are easy to check facts which would require an assumption to be discarded. When the Magim visited, Messiah was probably exactly 4 months and 1 day old, and certainly not more than 4 days more or less, because it is how long it took the Tzedek to rise as the bright dawn star on the day of Messiah's birth, September 1, 2 BC, and stop at its first station. Martin is overlooking the obvious birth star for Messiah, for a date which has no helical rising. See Revelation 22:16. See also notes on Luke 1:5, 24:36, and 2:6, where it is explained that Martin's theory contradicts the rotations of the priestly divisions. Okay, so I would like to look up one cross-reference, and that's Revelation 22:16. I will do that really quickly here. Revelation 22:16. Okay, he says, I, Yeshua, have sent my messenger to testify to you these things for the assemblies. I am the root and the kindred of Dawid, the bright dawn star. All right, so the footnote on that says, let's see, 22:16. Cross-reference Zechariah 6:12, Matthew 2:2, and Revelation 2:28. Now Revelation 2:28 sounds interesting, so let's check that one out. Oh, here we go. Okay, starting back in verse 27. As I also have been receiving authority beside my Father, therefore I will give him the morning star. He who has an ear should hear what the Spirit says to the assemblies. Okay, so on September 1, 2 BC, which is Yeshua's birth date, Jupiter, or the planet Tzedek, was the dawn star that reached its proper degrees for being viewed in a helical rising at dawn, as far as we can tell astronomically. So if you run a calculation on September 1, 2 BC, you will find Jupiter in the dawn rising up, and that's at the time of the birth of Yeshua. So this is, from the ancient world standards, his birth star, and this is the star that was followed by the Magi. Okay, continuing with our comments before I go back and add anything more, because I want a more holistic approach with this. All right. Okay, so on verse 15 we have footnote new, and that's on the quotation, out of Mitzrayim I called my son. Okay, so the cross-reference here is Hosea 11:1, Umitzrayim karati labani. The source of this prophecy is Numbers 28:4. Oh, sorry. Correction. The source of this prophecy is Numbers 24:8. God brings him out from Mitzrayim. But the wording is from Hosea 11:1 because it alludes to Numbers 24:8. See also Numbers 23:22. Okay. El Motseo Mi Mitzrayim. Okay. And El Motsiu Mi Mitzrayim. So it must be twice in that verse. Okay. So there's connections within connections, and I learned about these connections from a book by Rydalneck. I can't remember his first name. It's called The Messianic Hope. Alrighty. Verse 16. Phi. All right, and that is, let's just turn the page over here. Turn the page over. Phi, who were in the second year. Okay, so there's no Phi and Omega on that. And all of its surroundings, who were in the second year and under. Okay. All right, so the Greek word here is dietus. The second year of life is the 13th to the end of the 24th month. Herod would not have had to kill any boys over 24 months, according to the Magim's timetable for the appearances of the star. The word used here is dietus, which does not obviously mean 2 years old. Rather, it means twice year or double year. 2 years old would have been from the start of month 25 and the end of month 36, because the age is only counted upon completion of years. Okay, so we know our knowledge of when the star appeared and the astronomy involved is a check on the translation. We don't want to mistranslate it. Okay, that helps us with the meaning of the word. All right, 217 beta. So that's on. Then was filled up what was spoken through Yirmiyahu the prophet. Okay, so it's on the word filled. So when a non-prediction is said to be filled up, it means the theme is added to by another episode that fits the theme. Love fills up the law, but it must be renewed every day. The voice, verse 18, is that haunting voice of suffering that weighs down on Israel's heart through the ages. Okay, so verse 18, a voice was listened to in Ramah, weeping in great mourning, Rachel weeping over her children, as she was desiring not to be comforted, because they are not. Okay, so you could relate that even to contemporary events. Was filled up in Aza. Alrighty. Verse 18. Alpha, Jeremiah 31:15. Okay, so that's the quotation source. The date for this, that is the slaughter of the infants, the date for this is probably December 30th, though it could have been late on the 29th. A feast is celebrated by the church on these days called the Feast of the Holy Innocents. Jeremiah 31:15 sums up all the suffering of Yisrael. The passage is not a prediction, but it is an historical reference to Yisrael's suffering, which needs consolation. The consolation is Messiah, because he is the hope for the future. See Jeremiah 15:16 and following. All right, chapter 2. Note delta. Okay. So that's on verse 19. Yet also Herod having died, behold, the messenger of Yahweh shows himself in a dream to Yosef in Mitzrayim, saying, okay, so Herod died after a lunar eclipse in early 1 BC, about a month after killing the children, but afterward was a major war in Yehuda that was not ended until the fall feast of 1 BC. All right, chapter 2, verse 22. Note theta. He was afraid to go there. Okay. Yet when he heard that Archelaus reigns over Yehuda in the place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. Yet also, having been divinely instructed in a dream, he departed for the regions of Galilee. Archelaus reigned 7 years and was deposed in AD 6. Okay, despite the mistakes in Josephus, the vision, the so-called dream of Archelaus reveals the actual length of his reign. Okay. We had a power glitch, and that could throw the camera out. So if the camera blanks out here, you will know why. Chapter 2, verse 23. Phi, Zechariah 6:12. Okay, he will be called a Netzri. Also Isaiah 11:1. A Netzer, branch or shoot, from his roots will bear fruit. Zechariah 6:11. Behold. Alright, so it wasn't the power that killed us there, but was the 30-minute limit, which I forgot about. The camera has a 30-minute recording limit. So I'm going to have to kind of guess where we got cut off here. I think we got cut off on the footnote on verse 22 or thereabouts. So that's 22 Theta. Archelaus reigned 7 years and was deposed in AD 6. And despite the mistakes in Josephus, he records a fictional dream of Archelaus, which is 7 years, kind of like Joseph's dream, which reveals the length of his reign. On verse 23, we have Zacharias, 23 feet. And having come, he dwelled in a city called Netzareth. Okay, so what was spoken through the prophets, he will be called a Netzeri. So it's on Netzeri. All right, see Zechariah 6:12, also Isaiah 11:1. A branch, or a Netzer, from his roots will bear fruit. Zechariah 6:12. Behold, a man, a Tzemach, branch, shoot, riser will be his name, and from under himself he will branch out, and he will have built the temple of Yahweh. Also Jeremiah 23:5, 33:15, Zechariah 3:8, which says he will be called a Netzeri. A fair interpretation of Tzemach will be his name. Tzemach Shemo. Zechariah 6:12. Also Kaleo, called, is used as a synonym for what someone is named. So that sums up the notes from Matthew chapter 2. And now I will venture a few more comments on this chapter. So September 1, 2 BC, which is the date when the star appeared in the heliacal rising, date on which Messiah was born, is the same as the date of the Feast of Trumpets, or Yom Teruah. So Yeshua was born on a biblical holiday, the first of the fall feast, which occurs on the first day of the 7th month. Okay, and so this year it's going to be coming up in a month or two this fall, and that will be the anniversary of Yeshua's birth. Okay, I have a chart here at the beginning of the Good News of Messiah, which shows a chronology of Messiah's birth. My finger's out of the way there. Get you a good close-up there. So that's showing it all the details of the chronology of the birth of Yeshua and also the birth of Yochanan. Okay, so that's a reference. Okay. And on the other side, here's the title page. I don't know if I showed you that last time. I might as well show you this time. There we go. There's the title page.
Put that on pause.
No.
I'm going to be making a lot of noise getting ready for it.
Go ahead, make noise. I won't be very long. You can, background noises are fine. Alrighty. Alright. Oh. I can't think of anything else to say here that hasn't already been said. So anyway, the chronology of the star, it appeared in the constellation of Leo 17 to 18 months before Yeshua was born, and then it reappeared again in the constellation of Virgo, and it refers to the star in the branch. Actually, in Virgo is said to be holding a branch in one of her hands. Okay, so the star was in that branch. So there's a lot of symbolism going on here in the birth of Yeshua, or in the visit of the Magi 4 months after the birth of Yeshua. Okay, so there's a whole astronomy chronology to this that fits with Scripture. Okay, so thank you for listening to Matthew chapter 2 from the Good News of Messiah. Dan Gregg, over and out.